Hi, it's Ileana, and today I am going to be discussing doing modeling and rendering for 3D printing designs for the Metatron Tesseract Cubes. I've recently had interesting downloads coming in, so I want to discuss what I had in the downloads. So basically, I was connecting to the fourth dimension, and I was experiencing receiving colors, these vibrant blues, dark blues, light blues, purples, dark purples, light purples, reds. And I was seeing these crystal grids with the Metatron Tesseract cube in the middle of the grids. So basically, it was showing me on the fourth dimension that I need to incorporate more sacred geometry into my work and start meditating with the Tesseract cubes combined with the Metatron cubes. So it has to be connected together cohesively. The Metatron cube and the Tesseract cube. And how do you do that? So you connect the spheres of light with the Metatron cube combination, and that forms the Metatron tetrahedron Tesseract combination. So you have to connect the tetrahedron, the cube, the octahedron, the dodahedron, and the isohedron together, and that's what forms the Metatron cube. And then you add in the spheres of light to give it the dimension of the Tesseract cube. So together, that is the Metatron Tesseract cube with all those sacred geometry forms connected together to make a Metatron cube. So that's what I was given, and I was told to meditate with it so that I could access further my psychic abilities, universal knowledge of wisdom from the higher dimensions, like the fourth dimension and up. Also to connect with more astral traveling abilities, like I said, psychic abilities, higher awareness of what happens in the universe, as well as to be able to do time travel and to be able to look into the future, because that's what the Tesseract cube allows you to do. It allows you to do time traveling, to connect with different parallel realities, parallel lifetimes, timelines, to manifest positive timelines. So that's what it allows you to do. So this is what came into me through the downloads when I was connecting to the higher dimensions, to the fourth dimension. And I was shown how to 3D print these cubes, the Metatron cube with connection with the Tesseract cube. And I was going, well, how does this work? How do I connect to these cubes? Like, how do I physically make them? And then Spirit said, go on the internet and look around, do some searches, how to 3D print these Metatron Tesseract cubes. So I did that. And I'm like, oh, there's a modeling program here that works to do that pretty well. And I said to myself, well, try the modeling program to render what this would look like for you from the fourth dimension to the 3D dimension. And so I did that. And I spent 2 days working on this to create actual physical models of what I would be 3D printing for the Metatron Tesseract cubes. So I'm just going to share that because I made a presentation of all the steps that I followed to make this happen. So I'm going to share with you guys what this whole process looked like to me. And how it works, basically. So yeah, it was quite interesting. I got to learn so much information from all of this. So we'll start with the basics of what the shapes are for the Metatron cube, modeling and rendering 3D printing designs for the Metatron Tesseract cube. And again, we start with the tetrahedron, and that equals the element of fire, the cube itself, that's the element of earth, the octahedron, it's called the octahedron, and that's air, dodahedron, dodecahedron, and that's spirit. And all these sacred geometry shapes have interesting names. Isohedron, and that's connected to the element of water. And then we have the sacred geometry shapes themselves. What I was just discussing, the connectors at the top, these are what form the Metatron cube. The tetrahedron, the cube itself, the octahedron, the dodahedron, and the isohedron. So those are the forms of the Metatron cube itself. But there's also the sacred geometry connectors that connect the cube together, the Metatron cube. And then there's the tesseract spheres further down. So when you're working with the Metatron cube itself, there's the symbology and the imagery of the flower of life in it. There's the hexahedron Metatron adaptation, and it has sort of like the Merkaba effect in the middle of it. There's the seed of life. There's the isohedron. There's Pisces I infinity. There's the Metatron's cube itself, which forms all of these connections. There's the hexagram, and there's Vesica Pisces I, and there's the hexagram formation. So there's a lot of sacred geometry connectors that come into forming the Metatron cube to work with it. So there's the cube shapes themselves, and then there's the sacred geometry that connects all of that together to create the Metatron cube. And on top of that, I'm layering the Tesseract cube to do all those things that I just mentioned in meditation, and also to use the Metatron Tesseract cube or cubes themselves in my crystal grids to amplify the crystals and the grid itself, to have that in the middle of the grids. So that's incredible. So this is what the Metatron cube looks like, with all those connections and the 5 solids of what I was describing, starting with the tetrahedron, the octahedron, and all those other hedrons. So this is what it looks like when it's all put together, with the flower of life, the seed of life, and the other connectors. So that's what it looks like. It's quite beautiful. And it was shown to me in colors of blue and purple. And when I researched the Metatron cube, the colors of blue and purple are often what the Metatron cube grid looks like. And this is without any crystals on it. This is just an energetic form of the grid. So that's what it looks like. It's very beautiful, and it's very powerful. It can connect you for healing the body, the soul, and the mind. And it can really help to transform negative energies into positive energies, especially when you're meditating. So it's not just for psychic abilities, it's also for healing and basically turning your life around with positive energies. And this is showing all the solids of the Metatron cube. and the flower of life and the seed of life connections. So this is what it's showing you when the Metatron cube is completed. And this is a golden formation of it, because you can get it printed in 3D modeling. You can get it printed in metal, gold plated, and then they could dip it in gold plating. So you can have it 3D printed in various materials. You can have metal of copper, brass, gold. You could have plastic-like materials, which can add in the colors of purple, blue, red, and other colors. So there's a lot of different options for 3D printing these sacred geometry symbols and objects. 3D printers have come a long way. We didn't have 3D printers 20 years ago, but now we do. The technology is much better than it was before. And again, here is all the combinations of what make up the Metatron cube. So the Metatron cube has 5 solids that connect it together, starting with the star tetrahedron, hexahedron, octahedron, isohedron, and the dodecahedron. Then the shapes connect with the sacred geometry of flower of life, hexagon, seed of life, Pisces, I Trinity, and to me, it signifies infinity. Vesica Pisces, I, and the hexagon formation, as I was mentioning before, and I wanted to illustrate what that looks like in all its forms and shapes, what makes up the Metatron cube itself. And now here we're going into the 3D modeling and rendering aspect of making the 3D Metatron cube with the spheres of light. This is what I was seeing in the downloads from the 4th dimension, the 4th density. And it was fast. The images were coming in visually. And I was seeing it in my mind from a 4D perspective, but I had to model it and render it from a 3D perspective to make it work for the 3D printing. So this is the dark blue. And I really worked on matching the colors for these models, because the colors were so important. The vibration and the energy of the colors that are infused into the Metatron cube and the Tesseract cube, and this is with the spheres of light. So this is the combination of the Metatron cube connected with the Tesseract cube. This is the 3D rendering model. So this is the dark blue. And I showed it from all sides, the front, the side, the top, and top and front. So this, the Yegi program on their website, it allowed me to model the 3D dimensional aspect of the Metatron cube connected with the spheres of light to create the Tesseract cube in that combo. So I'm showing you what the modeling and rendering aspect of it looked like together. And this is the lighter blue. It's slightly lighter, but it has a different vibration. It's a lighter tone. The frequency is so beautiful. And I made several versions of these because I plan to 3D print 6 of these Metatron Tesseract cubes, 4 of the bigger ones to meditate with, and 2 of the smaller ones to put in my crystal grids in the center with crystals around them. So this is the lighter blue. This is the front side of the Metatron Tesseract cube, the front, and the side angle of the front. And I did it from many different angles just to see what the final model rendering would look like, because once these sacred geometry objects are 3D printed, that's the final copy of what I have to work with. So I had to be very careful and very precise to make sure that these object rendering models were perfect for my needs and what I was seeing from the fourth dimension in the visual 4D modeling coming into the 3D modeling. So I was very careful and precise because this is the final model of what I'll be working with. So it was very important for me to do it right. So I spent about 2 days on this, and I have the files of this stuff. I have the STL files because there's coding that goes in. Once I render the models, there's also coding in the files that the 3D printing company would use to print this for me. So I would have to send in those files and images of the 3D model renders and tell them exactly what I would like to 3D print and figure out the materials. Because again, there's metals and there's plastic-like materials and other materials. Because a lot of the rendering of objects that's done, it's done in AutoCAD. I'm not experienced with AutoCAD. This was a simpler Yegi modeling rendering program on their website, which has a lot of different pre-programmed sacred geometry objects already. So what I did, I worked with a version of the Metatron cube that somebody had already designed, inputting the Tesseract spheres of light. So this was perfect for me. So I was just changing the colors and the sizes in the modeling program, but I wasn't creating the shape itself because I already knew the shape. This is exactly what I wanted. So this is the top, and that's the top front view of the lighter blue color spectrum for the Metatron Tesseract Cube. This is the dark purple version of it, the front view. This is the front side view. And again, I was very careful with the colors because I tried 7 variations of blues and purples. Because again, some of the variations didn't feel right to me energetically and vibrationally, just didn't have that energetic frequency that I was looking for that was given to me through the downloads. So it took me several hours to figure out the colors, and it took patience and it took skill to match up all the colors to exactly what I wanted, but that's fine. I want this to be spiritually high vibration to work with for the meditation and for the crystal grids. So I invested the time into it to do it right. And this is the top view of the purple one, the dark purple Metatron Tesseract Cube. That's the top and front view of it. And for the modeling and rendering purposes for 3D images and objects, it's important to get as much size as you can of what the objects will look like for 3D printing, because you need to see what everything looks like, because this is going to be the final model of what I'll be working with once this is 3D printed for me at some point. So I took the time to do it correctly. And this is the lighter purple model of the Metatron Tesseract Cube in 3D dimension. This is the front aspect of it. This is the front side aspect. And you can see how all the spheres are connected together. This is a beautiful sacred geometry object, combining the Metatron cube with the Tesseract cube, because I want to be able to do more astral traveling, time traveling, looking into the future. When I'm meditating, just by connecting with this sacred geometry on the 4D and up, I want to be able to do it in meditation, to be able to do it more clearly and easier. I can already do all those things psychically, but I want to go even higher in energetics with this sacred tool to help me out with that, and to see and to document the process on video, talking about my experiences doing this project. So this is the top view of the lighter purple version of the Metatron Tesseract Cube. That's the top and front view of it. And again, many images of the forms. It's the same form, but in different colors, because the colors do make the difference in how the final versions of these will look like. The color is what really matters and makes the difference. Honestly, in some shades of blue and purple, these didn't look good. So the variations of the colors had to be very specific for this to work for me and to vibrationally sync with what I was seeing of these in 4D, in 4 dimension. And this one is the red 3D Metatron Tesseract Cube. This is for the crystal grid. I'm not going to be meditating with a red Metatron Tesseract Cube because red is fire. Red is energizing energy. It really is fast and quick. It's good for amplifying the crystals, the various crystals, the crystal grids. So it's good for that, for amplifying the energies of the crystals and raising their vibration, and for manifesting intentions for goals and achievements when working with your crystal grids and sacred geometry objects in the middle of the grid. But I don't want to meditate with this. Red is too fiery for me. It's too fast. It spins too fast. And during meditation, I want to slow down the energy, not go like that. So this is perfect for the crystal grids. And this is going to be in a smaller version. The bigger cubes, the blues and the purples, those are going to be 7 inches. The smaller cubes for the crystal grids are going to be 3 inches, because 7 inches is perfect to hold in your hands. It's easy to move it around. And 3 inches is good to put in the middle of a crystal grid, 8.5 by 11 grid under a glass frame. So 7 inches is like this, 3 inches is like this, 7 inches, 3 inches. So there's a difference in sizes. So that's the front view of the red Metatron Tesseract Cube for the crystal grids. That's the front view of it. And this is the top view. And you can see it almost has a Star of David as well in the middle, because this is specifically designed to incorporate the Metatron Cube and the Tesseract Cube together. 2 forms with a Star of David in the middle as well. So you can see that pretty well on the top version of it. And this is the top front view of the red cube. And now we're moving on to what this will look like in the crystal grids, because rendering the crystal grid design from a 3D model was very important to me again. It took some time to figure out how to render this correctly. Having the red Metatron Tesseract Cube in the middle of it, this is going to be 3 inches. And I'm using blue aqua aura crystals, tangerine crystals, and green aqua aura crystals. That's around the Metatron Tesseract Cube. And this, the crystal grid base itself, that's a Metatron cube with all the shapes and the sacred geometry symbols combined together. So the base of the crystal grid, that's going to be printed on paper in color, put under a glass frame, just glass, pure glass. It's going to be pure glass. It's not going to have a frame, wood, or anything around it. So it goes under a clear glass frame, right? Then on top of that, I will put the Metatron Tesseract Cube in the color of red. And around that will go the crystals in this geometrical pattern. So there's 3 layers to this, or even 4. First, you print the crystal base, and that's the Metatron Cube itself in purple and all these colors. That's printed on paper, put under the clear glass frame underneath, and it has clips and stuff, so it looks seamless. Then you put the red Metatron Tesseract Cube in the middle of the grid, and 3 inches will be perfect because the grid itself is 8.5 by 11 inches. I have other crystal grids that I've worked with, and I've been connected energetically to the Metatron Cube sacred geometry for a long time. I already have 2 other crystal grids utilizing this particular sacred geometry pattern. And it's like I've taught people how to do crystal grids and how to heal with crystals. And I've published a book called Crystal Grids, The Art of Healing with Crystals. And these grids are already, similar grids are already in that book. This is kind of an upgrade and next version of my evolution of working with sacred geometry in 3D printed objects. So you put the Metatron Tesseract Cube in the middle of the grid, then you put the crystals around it, and then you activate the crystals with your manifestation intention or a prayer or whatever you feel comfortable doing. And this is the 4 layers of it, of how it would look like in physical reality, 3D model in physicality when it's all complete. So I put some instructions, the 3D print. So you would 3D print the Metatron Tesseract Cubes in the 3 inches size models in order to put in the middle of the Metatron Cube grid base with the tangerine crystals, aqua aura crystals, those are the blue ones, the tangerine are the orange ones, and the green aura crystals. The Metatron Tesseract Cube helps to connect with astral travel abilities, time travel, and also with traveling to different dimensions and timelines beyond the 3D reality of planetary worlds. As well, it helps you to access sacred universal knowledge and wisdom to learn for your ascension teachings. So it connects you to the higher realms of realities, it connects you to the angelic realms, it connects you to the Council of 9 realms, it connects you to a lot of different high vibrational realms beyond 3D planetary realities and planets. So this is another version of the light purple 3D printed Metatron Tesseract Cube, because I want to have 2 variations of the Metatron Tesseract Cubes to see how they work with the Metatron crystal grid base and the crystals. So that's why I rendered 2 options with the red and the light purple, because sometimes you want the energies to move faster. Sometimes you want them to move slower and more relaxed and more quieter. For crystal grids, this is easy to work with and change. You don't change out the crystals and the crystal grid base grid. You don't change any of that. You just take out one version of the cube in the red color and put in the light purple one, and you change the manifestation aspect, and you just clear out the energies, the programming, energetic programming of the crystals from the original manifestation. You can use a bell, you can use your own energy, or you can use other crystals to clear the energy and the manifestation programming and start anew with this secondary crystal grid. So it's really up to you what you want to do with it and what the function will be and the purpose, what manifestation you will put. You can put even house protection with this because it's really powerful sacred geometry. It's so powerful. I love it. I have other variations of doing portal travel, actually, and time travel with the Metatron Cube designs that I had created for the crystal book. So it's the same information I'm describing, same write-up. And there was a quote that came in when I was in the 4th dimension, and it was, "Imagination is life's creations, And this is what I was literally feeling connected to when I was seeing these Metatron Tesseract cubes in the fourth reality, the 4D vibration that I was in. And so I tried to recreate the 4D aspect that I was seeing while connected to the 4D energies of that dimension. These cubes were spinning so fast in all these colors. So I tried to recreate that, what it looked like to me, with the sacred message that I got. Imagination is life's creations. So I was really trying to show that and to literally share that aspect of that reality like that. And I think it turned out well. It really feels sacred to me in that aspect. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that little message of what came through. And now I'm just going to share the experience, read the write up that I did of all this together, of how it came to be for me, meditating with the Metatron Tesseract Cubes, how all of this design came to be and what it is. Recently, I was provided with downloads about how to design and 3D print the Metatron Tesseract cubes in order to be able to meditate with them. I was seeing a Metatron cube and that it was interconnected with the divine spheres of light. The colors that the cubes and spheres were in are dark blue, dark purple, and light purple, as the variations of these colors are supportive for developing people's psychic abilities, intuitive abilities, astral travel, accessing universal knowledge and wisdom, to learn about your ascension and whatever other important knowledge that you want to gain and understand from the universe. And also for healing the body, soul, mind, and the physical states of our existences, together with the combination of the Metatron cube and the Tesseract spheres. This sacred geometry allows to be able to see the future, do time travel, and to view different aspects of parallel realities and timelines. As well, I think it could help you to even see past lives if you want. This could potentially happen while holding the 5 to 7 inch Metatron Tesseract cube in one's hand while being in deep meditation and in a completely relaxed state where the soul is free to explore things in the universe without any limits or boundaries. After receiving the downloads about the Metatron Tesseract cubes, with the information about the meditation and the various ways our gifts can be accessed by working with the Metatron cube, I began to look up ways to create these cubes in our physicality reality. The first part of the process was seeing in my mind what the cube shapes looked like, and then doing a search on the internet for techniques and ways to 3D print the cubes in different sizes and colors. While doing my searches on the 3D printing techniques, I learned that I first needed to do a 2D to 3D renderings with models and the images for the cube shapes and the colors. So I stumbled by accident on a modeling and rendering program online because I looked at different tools and nothing was working, and I stumbled on this by accident. It took me a day to figure out how to find the Metatron Tesseract cube on the website that hosts the rendering application, which is yegi.com. Once I found the correct cube shape, just like what was in my knowledge downloads from the fourth dimension, I went to work on figuring out what colors would work best for the cubes in doing the meditations, and also how to incorporate the cubes into the crystal grids, because I work with crystal grid designs. What I discovered is that I gained a unique skill into learning how to model and render shapes of sacred geometry with the specific colors of divine soul and spirit connections. I was not just modeling or rendering objects. To me, the Metatron Tesseract Cube is a divine tool, and it's very sacred, and also it's soul art, so I wanted to do it correctly. During the modeling process, I rotated the Metatron Tesseract Cube in various angles in order to understand how the colors that were in my wisdom downloads would work with the shapes of the cubes, and if it would actually look good to work with these objects for doing meditation. Because again, for me, something needs to work on a fundamental energetic level to be in physicality. So I had to make sure these would fit correctly in the colors and the sizes. I felt positive outcomes and results coming in as I worked with the different spectrums of the colors. I wrote down the color sequences and rendered several variations of color schematics for the cubes. Once I was satisfied that everything looked divinely guided with the modeling and rendering process of the sacred geometry shapes, I saved all the image renderings to separate files, as well as downloaded the STL files from the modeling program so that I can eventually go to a 3D printing company and get the Metatron Tesseract Cubes printed in the 3D physical formats. I plan to have 4 of the larger Metatron cubes that will be 5 to 7 inches in size to be held in the hands for the meditation processes. The colors for these meditation cubes will be dark blue, light blue, dark purple, and light purple for calming the mind, grounding, balancing the soul in order to be able to connect to the higher dimensional frequencies of the positive realms, universes, and sacred universal knowledge to have access to downloads and uploads that teaches us our divine soul wisdom. So again, this is about learning how to access the downloads and uploads that teaches us our divine soul wisdom. That's one of the most important aspects of why I want to work with these Metatron Tesseract Cubes to be able to access even more knowledge beyond the psychic abilities that I have, because I'm very much interested in sacred tools and how they can help us with that process or processes of divinely connecting to energies, frequencies, and vibrations on higher dimensions. And it's like, it's really connecting to the higher vibrations of higher dualities, higher dimensions and densities of different realities. So that's very important to me. There will also be 2 smaller Metatron Tesseract Cubes for the crystal grid designs with the colors of red and light purple. The sizes for these cubes will be 3 inches for each cube. I have never before tried to create 3D rendered printed objects to be printed other than on paper with sacred geometry symbols for the crystal grid bases. So this is a completely new process for me. So I had decided to first model the Metatron Tesseract Cube concepts in their various color designs to see in theory how all of this would look like in the physical reality. I accessed the 4th dimensional energies on a 4D visual spectrum to see how the Metatron Tesseract Cubes would look like in my mind. Then I went and rendered the model designs, and now I am ready to take the next steps in eventually contacting a 3D printing company to 3D print all 6 of the Metatron Tesseract Cubes so that I can meditate with them and utilize the cubes in my crystal grid designs. So here are the variations of colors that were used to model and render the 6 Metatron Tesseract Cubes. And these color spectrums are part of the program, so they're individual to the program that I used at yegi.com. So there's dark blue, and it's 13568, light blue 3876, C2, dark purple, 9A, 38, C2, and light purple, C, 23, 87D, and as well the red, which is E91D, 2D. And I put the numbers and the letters of the color sequences right along with the files of the images of all the colors of these cubes. So each file has the color coding. So when I send the files to the 3D printing company, they'll know which colors I want printed for the Metatron Tesseract cubes, because obviously there's a color coding system here and I had to follow it. This is what I created. These are the best soul colors that would work for me for meditation. The dark blue, the light blue, the dark purple, the light purple. So this is divinely for meditation. And the light purple and the red is for the crystal grids, for the grids that will have the crystals around the Metatron Tesseract cube. So the modeling and rendering website, where the program that I used to design the Metatron Tesseract cubes is called www.yeggi.com, YEGGI.com. So below are the screenshots of how I used the program to model and render the designs for the Metatron Tesseract cubes. So I basically went on yeggi.com and I typed in Metatron cube. That's the only thing I typed in, and it showed me these variations of it, of the different sacred geometry objects, how a Metatron cube looks like and how it can be 3D printed. And I'm like, oh, I want the one with the spheres. What is that? And then I checked with Spirit. I checked in, and Spirit said to me, oh, that's exactly what you want. It's the Metatron cube together with the Tesseract spheres of light. So it'll meet all your spiritual needs to work with it. I'm like, great, perfect. So I selected the red one and I started changing the colors of it in the program, where I could change everything through rendering and modeling the schematics for these Metatron Tesseract cubes. So the Metatron Tesseract cubes are designed in the Yeggi modeling and rendering software program online. This is all online. I didn't have to download anything to my own computer. This was done purely online. And you can see this is the 3D Metatron's cube with the spheres. And that's, the design came in red, and I changed the design aspects of it and I rendered it to make it different. It's a very easy program to work with. I've never worked with AutoCAD or any other modeling rendering software or programs. So this is like for beginners. And this, you can see the cube design on the plane, on the aspect plane. It's a preview of the top and the front, what the cube looks like. And then you have the modeling board, where you get to change the colors. You can even change the shapes to different ones if you want. So this is the preview of it. This is the 3D render preview of what it looks like without any changes to it, to the original model. And here on the modeling design plane, you have the ruler, you have the different color schemes that you could use. You could change the colors, you can change the shapes. So, and you can scale it to whatever you want. You know, it's interesting. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, I like it. So it was fun to do that. And so it's the Metatron Tesseract cubes being modeled and rendered in the Yeggi software program through the online website, where you can choose to work with various forms of sacred geometry, shapes, and objects. So yeah, it was quite interesting to work with this. I really enjoyed it. And it was very simplistic. Yeah, it's very easy. And it even tells you the sizes. So you could go up, down, you could really change the sizes of whatever you want in the program. So it's beautiful. It's quite interesting to work with it. And it was very simplistic. So I just wanted to share that with you today and this whole process of these designs for the sacred geometry. So thank you so much and namaste.